Hey, it's Ben here from Cambridge Crash Course. We're talking about Reconstruction today. And let's get to it. The Reconstruction era all started when President Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. Shockingly, this was a blow to the Confederacy because he was planning to go easy on them. He wanted to reintegrate them into the Union as fast as possible. In Lincoln's last speech, he encouraged Northerners to stop being bitter towards the South and let them back into the Union. However, he was not ready to give African Americans the right to vote. After the Civil War ended, there were some things that needed to be changed in the U.S. Constitution to make slavery illegal. Lincoln played a huge role in this. Soon after Lincoln's death, Congress passed the 13th Amendment. For more information on the 13th Amendment, we're going to throw it over to Amendment Man.
Amendment 13, December 6, 1865, abolish slavery.
After Lincoln's death, Andrew Johnson took over the presidency. The irony behind this is Johnson was known to be a white supremacist. He was actually voted as vice president in order to balance the ideas between him and Lincoln. One of the first and major set of laws that were passed were known as the Black Codes. These laws were created with the intent of restricting African Americans to vote and other rights that white people had. So now let's pass it to our other host, Christian Guzman.
It's Guzman.
Sup? Thanks, Ben. In reaction to the poor treatment and lack of opportunity for African Americans in the South, the Freedmen's Bureau was formed. This bureau was established in 1865 and set out to help struggling African Americans.
Amendment 14 is the Reconstruction Amendment, define the national citizenship and basic rights of all men.
The Civil Rights Act of 1875 is sometimes referred to as the Enforcement Act or Force Act. It was struck down by the Supreme Court in 1883 on the grounds that the Constitution did not extend to private businesses. Sharecroppers are tenant farmers who give a part of each crop as rent. Many former slaves were unable to obtain land and were forced to work on large white-owned plantations and farms. Former slaves would purchase land on large white-owned farms, usually southern cotton farms, and pay rent in a form of crops.
Amendment 15, African Americans can now vote. Pretty cool.
Now, it's Gonzo time.
Alright guys, I'm Gonzo. Let's talk about Reconstruction. One of the common terms used during Reconstruction was a scalawag. The term was used by white Southern Democrats who opposed Reconstruction legislation. Another common term was a carpetbagger. A carpetbagger was a northerner who moved down south to help free African Americans. Then, during the Reconstruction, a violent group emerged, which was the KKK. The KKK was a white supremacist group that often used violence to restrict African Americans from progressing. The Compromise of 1877 ended formally the Reconstruction era. It resulted in the disputes from the presidential election of 1876 being settled, and it also resulted in Northern troops leaving the South. Now let's wrap it up with Will.
Was Reconstruction a failure? Yes, but it did have its moments. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were amazing, just as Amendment Man said himself, which was me. But it also had its failures. Sharecropping caused a lot of debt, the South's economy never recovered, and Lincoln died.
Now, in our final moments, I want to say thank you to all of our group members, Gonzo, Will, and Ben, and myself. And I want to give a special thanks to Wallace for allowing us to use his room.
And I want to say thanks to Bob Bordas for giving this a great opportunity for us to bond together as group members.